Good evening, everyone. It's easy to let another year slip away, isn't it? We get caught in the rhythm of life, busy, distracted, doing what we've always done. But here's the truth, life doesn't wait for us to catch up. And no matter how much we want it, time doesn't pause to give us a break. Growth begins at the point where we allow ourselves to be uncomfortable. In a world that constantly promotes comfort, ease, and instant gratification, stepping into discomfort can feel like an act of rebellion. We're conditioned to avoid pain, stress, and anything that doesn't feel good. But what if discomfort is actually the very thing we need to experience in order to grow, change, and transform? Think about the moments in your life that have truly shaped you. They probably weren't moments of ease. They were times when you faced something difficult, a challenge, a setback, a failure, or even a success that pushed you beyond what you thought you were capable of. These moments of discomfort, though they were tough, are the ones that taught you the most. They helped you build resilience, strength, and wisdom. Discomfort is the teacher we often don't want, but the one we need most. When we're faced with situations that challenge us, whether emotionally, physically, or mentally, we are given an opportunity to expand beyond our current boundaries. The discomfort we feel during these times is often a signal that we are on the cusp of growth. It's telling us you're stretching beyond what you knew and you're about to enter new territory. The discomfort of growth doesn't always look like pain or suffering. Sometimes it manifests as uncertainty. The fear of not knowing what's ahead can be just as uncomfortable as any physical or emotional discomfort. When you decide to change, when you decide to push yourself into new experiences, the unknown can feel overwhelming. Yet it's in that space of uncertainty where true growth happens. The more we step into it, the more we start to trust ourselves to navigate through it. We learn that we don't need to have all the answers right away, that not knowing is a part of the process. And discomfort doesn't only show up in big, dramatic ways. It's present in the small, everyday choices we make. It's in the decision to speak up when you've always stayed quiet, to set a boundary with someone you care about, to say no when you usually say yes. It's in the moments when you choose to do something new or different, even if it feels awkward or unnatural. It's the feeling of vulnerability that comes when you share a part of yourself that you've kept hidden out of fear of judgment or rejection. These small discomforts add up, and with each one, we grow. If you want to change, if you want to build something different for your life, the first step is to embrace discomfort as a necessary companion on the journey. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's a signpost that you're on the right track. When we embrace discomfort, we learn that we are capable of far more than we imagined. We start to see that we have the strength to handle life's challenges, to stretch and evolve, and to come out the other side not just unscathed, but transformed. Yet many of us resist discomfort because we associate it with failure, pain, or weakness. But what if we reframe discomfort as an ally instead of an adversary? Instead of fearing it, what if we saw it as a sign that we are growing, that we are pushing ourselves beyond the limits we once thought were insurmountable? What if we started to embrace discomfort as a normal, necessary part of life rather than something to avoid at all costs? When we choose to embrace discomfort, we stop living in reaction to our fears. We stop running from the things that challenge us and start running toward the things that can help us grow. It's not about making discomfort go away. It's about learning to live with it, to navigate it, and to use it as a catalyst for change. Each time we choose to push through discomfort, we build resilience. We teach ourselves that we can handle what comes our way. And most importantly, we prove to ourselves that we are capable of creating the life we want, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable. Discomfort is not something that happens to us. It's something we choose to step into. And every time we do, we take another step toward becoming the person we are meant to be. The idea of waiting for the perfect moment is something that many of us have fallen prey to. We convince ourselves that we'll take action when the timing is just right, when we feel ready, when we have enough knowledge, or when our circumstances align perfectly. But the truth is, the perfect moment often never arrives. We sit, we wait, and before we know it, another year has passed, and we've made little to no progress toward the life we want. Procrastination is often rooted in the idea that we need to be fully prepared, fully confident, or fully in control before we take action. But that mindset can keep us stuck. We can spend endless hours researching, planning, and strategizing without ever taking the first step. The waiting game can be paralyzing, The more we wait, the more we convince ourselves that we're not quite ready, that we don't know enough, or that it's just not the right time. The truth is, there is no perfect time. Life doesn't come with an instruction manual or a neatly laid out plan. If you wait until everything is aligned, you'll likely be waiting forever. The reality is that the perfect moment is an illusion. Waiting for it can rob us of the opportunity to grow, to learn, and to experience life in all its messiness. Progress is made in the doing, not in the waiting. One of the most powerful things we can do is simply take action, even if it's imperfect, even if it feels uncertain, and even if we don't have all the answers. The idea that we need to have everything figured out before we start is a myth. Starting doesn't mean having it all together. It means taking one step forward, trusting that the next step will reveal itself as we move along. And the more we take those small, imperfect steps, the more we learn, the more we adjust, and the more we grow. You might be thinking, but what if I fail? The truth is, failure is not the enemy. Failure is a part of the process. Every successful person, every person who has achieved something meaningful has failed at some point. The key isn't avoiding failure, it's learning how to navigate it, how to embrace it as part of the journey. Failure is where growth happens. It's where we learn the most about ourselves and the world around us. Waiting can feel safe. It can feel like you're in control, but in reality, waiting only keeps you stuck. It prevents you from moving forward, from stepping into your potential, and from taking the risks that will lead to growth. The discomfort of starting, of taking that first step, even when you're not sure what's ahead, is much less painful than the regret of looking back after years of waiting. When we wait, we put off living. We delay the experiences, the lessons, and the joy that comes with pursuing something meaningful. Life is not something that happens later, it's happening right now. And if we continue to put things off, we're missing out on the moments, the opportunities, and the growth that come from taking action. Think about the things you've been putting off. Maybe it's a goal, a dream, a conversation, or even a personal change. What's holding you back? Is it fear of failure, fear of judgment? Or maybe it's just the belief that the timing isn't right. But the reality is, if you keep waiting, you'll keep telling yourself that you're not ready. And the more you tell yourself that, the harder it becomes to actually start. Waiting for the perfect moment is often just a way of avoiding the discomfort of change. But the truth is, change is uncomfortable, it's messy, it's hard, and it's often unpredictable. But it's also where the magic happens. It's in the moments of uncertainty, of taking that first step into the unknown, that we find out who we really are and what we're capable of. You will never feel 100% ready. You will never feel like you have everything figured out. But the act of starting, of moving forward, even when it's not perfect, creates momentum. It gets you closer to the person you want to be, to the life you want to live. Waiting is not the answer. Action is. Even small actions, even imperfect actions, are far more powerful than waiting for everything to be just right. So, stop waiting. Start now. Start even if it's small, even if you're uncertain. Because the only perfect moment is the one you create by choosing to act. Too often, we allow ourselves to become distracted by external things that we believe will bring us happiness or fulfillment. We chase after titles, possessions, and the approval of others, thinking that these things will somehow fill the emptiness or dissatisfaction we feel within. But the truth is, the things we think we need aren't always the things that bring us true happiness. In fact, external validation and material success can only offer temporary satisfaction. They're fleeting. In the end, they leave us still yearning for something deeper. The more we seek validation from outside sources, the more we disconnect from the most important relationship we have, the one we have with ourselves. We become so focused on gaining approval, achieving success, or collecting things that we forget to check in with our own needs, desires, and values. We lose sight of who we are at our core. We begin to define ourselves by how others see us, by how much we own, or by the accomplishments we've racked up. And when we do this, we're outsourcing our sense of worth to things that don't have the ability to fulfill us. True happiness doesn't come from external things. It comes from within. It's about cultivating a sense of self-worth that doesn't depend on how much we have or how others perceive us. It's about recognizing our inherent value and learning to honor that value without needing constant validation. When we're deeply connected to who we are, when we're aligned with our values and our true desires, we find fulfillment not from the external world, but from within ourselves. This doesn't mean that we should ignore the things we want or the recognition we might seek. There's nothing wrong with striving for success or seeking approval. But the problem arises when we place all of our focus on these external markers of success, believing that they are the source of our happiness. The truth is, when we look outward for validation, we're at the mercy of other people's opinions and judgments. We are constantly shifting and changing, trying to meet other people's expectations, and this creates a sense of instability. Our happiness becomes dependent on factors that are beyond our control. Instead, when we focus on building a strong internal foundation, when we take the time to get clear on who we are and what we truly value, we create a sense of inner stability that no external validation can shake. We learn to trust ourselves, our intuition, and our inner wisdom. We begin to feel more grounded in who we are, and we realize that we are enough just as we are. We don't need the approval of others to validate our worth. We don't need to accumulate things or achievements to feel fulfilled. This shift in mindset doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it requires us to undo years of conditioning that tell us that our value is tied to external factors. It's about learning to quiet the noise around us, the pressure to conform, and the constant bombardment of messages that tell us we're not enough unless we have more. It's about learning to be still, to listen to ourselves, and to trust our inner voice. We need to give ourselves permission to let go of the chase for external validation and to focus on what truly matters, our own growth, well-being, and sense of purpose. When we begin to focus inward, we also start to change the way we interact with others. We stop seeking validation from them, and instead we become more genuine in our relationships. We stop trying to impress, to perform, or to earn approval. Instead, we show up as our true selves, vulnerable and authentic. This creates deeper, more meaningful connections with the people around us. We attract relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, not on superficial measures of success or status. And when we are grounded in who we are better able to support others in their own journey towards self-acceptance and fulfillment. Ultimately, the key to finding lasting happiness and fulfillment lies in shifting the focus inward. It's about building a strong sense of self-worth that doesn't rely on external achievements or other people's opinions. When we do this, we realize that happiness isn't something we have to chase, it's something we can cultivate from within. It's about creating a life that aligns with our deepest values, desires, and purpose. And when we learn to do this, we discover that the peace, contentment, and fulfillment we've been seeking have been within us all along. We often think that change is something that happens outside of us, that it requires a shift in our environment or circumstances. We wait for things to fall into place, hoping that once the external conditions align, we'll finally feel ready to take action or make a difference. However, the truth is that change starts within. It starts with a shift in our mindset, our beliefs, and our ability to take ownership of our actions and decisions. External factors can certainly influence our journey, but it's our internal world that dictates how we respond and whether we are truly able to create the life we want. The first step in making real change is to take responsibility for where we are right now. It's easy to fall into the trap of blaming others or external circumstances for our unhappiness, frustration, or lack of progress. We might blame our job, our relationships, or our upbringing for the way we feel, believing that if only those things were different, we'd be happier or more successful. But when we blame others, we give away our power. We place our happiness and success in the hands of things we can't control. Taking ownership means acknowledging that we are the creators of our lives, that our choices, beliefs, and actions are what shape our reality. Taking responsibility doesn't mean we are to blame for everything that happens to us. Life can throw unexpected challenges our way, and sometimes things are beyond our control. But even in those situations, we have the power to choose how we respond. We can choose to remain stuck in the past, holding on to resentment and anger, or we can choose to learn from the experience, grow from it, and move forward with more wisdom and resilience. By taking responsibility for our responses and actions, we take back control of our lives. We stop being passive observers and become active participants in our own growth and transformation. The next step is to challenge the beliefs and stories that we have about ourselves. So many of us walk through life carrying limiting beliefs, beliefs that tell us we're not enough, that we don't deserve success, or that we're incapable of achieving our goals. These beliefs often stem from past experiences, from things we were told growing up, or from societal messages that reinforce certain narratives about who we are and what we're capable of. These beliefs become part of our identity, shaping how we see ourselves and what we believe we can achieve. But if we want to make a change in our lives, we need to confront these beliefs head on. We need to ask ourselves, is this belief true? Where did it come from? Is it serving me? More often than not, the beliefs we carry are based on past stories that no longer have any relevance to our present reality. By questioning these beliefs, we begin to dismantle the stories that have held us back. This is a critical part of creating change, recognizing that our past doesn't define us. We have the power to choose new beliefs, beliefs that empower us to move forward and take risks, to believe in our abilities, and to trust that we are worthy of the life we want to create. One of the most important factors in creating lasting change is the willingness to step outside of our comfort zones. Change requires us to let go of what is familiar and take risks. It requires us to try new things, even if we're scared or unsure. It's easy to stay in the safe, predictable zone where we know what to expect, but nothing grows in the comfort zone. To create meaningful change, we must be willing to face discomfort, to challenge ourselves to do things that scare us, and to embrace the uncertainty that comes with growth. The more we push ourselves out of our comfort zones, the more we expand our sense of possibility and our capacity for growth. This process of change is not linear. There will be times when we feel like we're not making progress, when we stumble or fall back into old patterns. But that's all part of the journey. Change takes time, and it's normal to experience setbacks. The key is to remain committed to the process and to keep showing up, even on the days when it feels hard or discouraging. Growth doesn't happen in a straight line. It happens in cycles with ups and downs, moments of clarity and moments of doubt. What matters is that we continue to move forward, no matter how small the steps might seem. Ultimately, the process of change is about becoming more fully ourselves. It's about shedding the layers of conditioning, fear, and doubt that have kept us from stepping into our full potential. It's about aligning our actions with our values and beliefs and showing up for ourselves with compassion and courage. Change is not something that happens to us. It's something that we create moment by moment, choice by choice. It starts within, and it ripples out into every area of our lives. By taking responsibility for our actions, challenging our limiting beliefs, and embracing discomfort, we can create the life we've always desired. In conclusion, the journey of transformation begins within ourselves. True change isn't dependent on external circumstances, but on the small, intentional choices we make every day. By taking responsibility for where we are, challenging the limiting beliefs that hold us back, and embracing discomfort, we unlock the power to shape our lives. The process of growth is not always easy or linear, but it is always worth it. Each step we take toward becoming our true selves brings us closer to the fulfillment and happiness we seek. The key is to trust the process, stay committed, and believe that we are capable of creating the life we desire. We all have areas of our lives that need healing. These are the parts of ourselves that we often try to ignore or cover up because they make us feel vulnerable or imperfect. But here's the truth. These areas of our lives, these wounds, are not something to be ashamed of. They are part of what makes us human. And in order to grow, in order to truly move forward, we must face them. We must acknowledge where we are hurting, where we are broken, and where we need to heal. The tendency is to bury these parts of ourselves, to push them aside, or hope they'll go away on their own. We might think that if we ignore them long enough, they'll lose the power over us. But the reality is, unhealed wounds never just disappear. They fester beneath the surface, affecting how we show up in the world, how we relate to others, and how we treat ourselves. They create patterns in our behavior and thoughts that keep us stuck, keep us from living our fullest, most authentic lives. Healing is not a one-time event or something that happens overnight. It's a journey, and it requires us to be honest with ourselves about where we're at and what we need. It requires us to sit with discomfort, to allow ourselves to feel the pain that we've been avoiding. It's easy to keep going through the motions, to keep pushing forward while pretending everything is fine. But if we don't pause and allow ourselves the time and space to heal, we'll find that we're simply walking through life with a heavy heart, unable to fully connect with others or experience the joy we're capable of. Healing starts with self-awareness. It starts with the willingness to look within and acknowledge the parts of us that need attention. This might mean revisiting past hurts, traumas, betrayals, failures, and giving ourselves permission to grieve, to feel anger, or to process emotions we've been avoiding. It might mean forgiving ourselves for mistakes we've made, letting go of guilt, and learning to be kind to ourselves. Healing isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about learning to accept ourselves, scars and all. It also means recognizing that we are not defined by our wounds. Our pain doesn't have to be the story we tell ourselves about who we are. We often get caught in the narrative of our past hurts, using them as the lens through which we view ourselves in the world. But these wounds are not the entirety of our story. They are chapters in a much larger book, and we have the power to rewrite the narrative. We have the power to choose how we show up, regardless of our past. Healing allows us to step out of the victim mentality and into a place of empowerment. The process of healing requires patience. It's not something that can be rushed. It's about taking small steps every day, showing up for ourselves with compassion, and allowing time for the process to unfold. There will be setbacks, moments when we feel like we're not making progress or that we'll never fully heal. But healing is not a destination, it's a continuous journey. Even as we heal, we may find that new wounds surface or old wounds resurface. This doesn't mean we failed, it means we're human. It means we're doing the deep, necessary work to become whole. Part of healing is also learning how to set boundaries and protect our energy. We cannot heal if we're constantly surrounded by negativity, toxic relationships, or environments that drain us. Part of the healing process is knowing when to say no, when to step back, and when to prioritize our own well-being. We must learn that it's okay to take space for ourselves, to remove ourselves from situations or people that aren't serving our healing journey. Boundaries are an act of self-love, an essential part of preserving our mental, emotional, and physical health. The other side of healing is not perfection, but wholeness. It's not about erasing our pain or pretending we're fine when we're not. It's about integrating our wounds, learning from them, and becoming stronger because of them. Healing allows us to move forward with a greater sense of self-awareness, self-compassion, and authenticity. It allows us to show up in the world as the truest version of ourselves without the baggage of unhealed wounds holding us back. But healing takes time. It takes courage. It takes the willingness to face what we've been avoiding and the strength to keep going even when it feels hard. It's a messy, beautiful, and deeply transformative process. And most importantly, it requires us to believe that we are worth the effort. Change often feels like something that happens quickly or dramatically, but in reality, it's usually a slow and steady process that requires intentional effort. We may envision transformation happening all at once, imagining a single moment when everything shifts. However, the truth is that change is built on small, daily decisions and actions that we take consistently. It's about choosing to act, even when it feels uncomfortable or inconvenient, and committing to these actions over time. Change is not a single event, it's a series of ongoing choices that align with our desires, values, and goals. Every day we're faced with opportunities to make decisions that will either move us closer to the life we want or keep us stuck in old patterns. These decisions can seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they add up to create a larger shift. It could be something as simple as choosing to take a walk instead of sitting on the couch, or as complex as deciding to end a relationship that's no longer healthy. It's in these small, seemingly inconsequential choices that real change begins to take shape. When we make the decision to change, we are committing ourselves to a process that will require us to be intentional, patient, and consistent. One of the biggest challenges in the process of change is that it requires us to step out of our comfort zones. Our brains are wired to seek safety, familiarity, and ease. So the idea of breaking free from old habits or stepping into the unknown can be intimidating. Change asks us to confront uncertainty and discomfort, which is why many people resist it. It's often easier to stay with the familiar, even if it's not serving us, because the unknown feels risky. But it's only by stepping into that discomfort that we can begin to transform our lives. Real growth happens outside of our comfort zones, in the places where we feel unsure, anxious, or even afraid. But even though change may feel uncomfortable, it's important to remember that discomfort is not the same as danger. Discomfort is a sign that we're pushing ourselves beyond what we've known. And it's in this space of discomfort that transformation occurs. The challenge lies in our ability to embrace discomfort and trust that it's part of the process. Each time we choose the harder, less familiar path, we build our resilience and strength. These moments of discomfort are temporary, but the growth they bring is long-lasting. Change is a practice, not a perfect outcome, and that's something we often forget. In order to make lasting change, we must also be willing to release old patterns, beliefs, and habits that no longer serve us. We tend to cling to what is familiar, even when it's holding us back. Letting go of these old ways of thinking or behaving can feel like a loss, but it's actually a necessary part of the process. To make space for new growth, we need to clear out what no longer fits. This might mean letting go of negative self-talk, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or limiting beliefs that have kept us small. It's easy to think that we need to keep all of our old ways, but change requires us to be willing to let go in order to create room for something new. Another important aspect of change is learning to show up for ourselves, even when it feels hard. Often, when we start making changes, we're met with resistance, not just from the outside world, but from within ourselves. Our old habits will try to pull us back, and our fears will tell us that we're not capable or that it's not worth it. But making the choice to keep showing up, even on the days when it's tough, is what makes the difference. It's the daily commitment to the process of change that creates lasting results. No one changes overnight, and no one is perfect in their journey. What matters is the willingness to keep going, to keep making choices that align with our goals and values. Real change is not about quick fixes or temporary solutions. It's about creating a new way of living that is more aligned with who we want to be. It requires a shift in mindset, a commitment to consistency, and a willingness to face discomfort. It's not about achieving perfection, but about making progress one step at a time. Over time, the small decisions we make every day compound and create lasting transformation. Change isn't easy, but it's possible. And every step we take toward the person we want to become, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. The key is to remain patient, keep showing up, and trust the process.